Hi there. Welcome to a new episode of Branding with Friends, the show where branding meets key business topics. Here you're going to learn tips straight from the experts on everything from TV publicity to SEO to LinkedIn. We focus on what you can do right now to use these topics plus the power of branding to attract your ideal clients. I'm your host, branding expert Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. I help service business owners tell their story and show their value through clear messaging and consistent branding. I'm also a former Disney storyteller, professional speaker, and the author of 2 best-selling books, Establish Yourself and Permission to Try. And today I am so excited to introduce you to one of my longtime friends from the business world. If you struggle with confidence, if you are always wondering, how can I put myself out there and feel good about that, you're going to love today's episode. My guest today is the amazing Adele Michal. Adele believes in women and their worth. For more than 15 years, Adele has been a manifesting abundance coach for women coaches, consultants, and service business owners. She helps those who want to move past fears of being judged, rejected, and pushy in their sales and marketing. Adele helps women develop the mindset, the confidence, and habits to embrace their own versions of visibility, proudly market their work, and free their business's ability to grow. Adele, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much, Annie. I'm thrilled to be here too.
I was just saying that this is probably you are the most overdue guest in the 2+ years I've been doing Branding with Friends, because there wouldn't be no Branding with Friends without Adele Michal. Because you have been this well of confidence for me, so much permission through our work together. Not that you are a magic genie granting permission. To some respect, you are. You've got the candle burning in the background.
Exactly. Yes.
But when I was thinking about what I like to bring on guests that talk about different kinds of things and sometimes unexpected topics. So the expected ones are LinkedIn and SEO and things like that. But bringing someone on to talk about confidence, it's sort of this squishy thing, but is so critically important to our success as business owners and being able to enjoy that success. So you have been the light for me in the dark times of when I didn't feel confident. As full disclosure to those who don't know, my new book, Establish Yourself, in the entire introduction is a love letter to Adele and why I reached out to her, because I hated selling. I hated sleazy selling and I was terrified and it was about to kill my business. And as I tell in the book, Adele really helped me with that confidence key and unlock all this possibility that is my business that I love today. So a lot more to our story than that, of course, but you are the first person and the only person I want to have on today about confidence. Adele, how did you get into this work of doing so much work around business mindset, visibility, and really this core of working on confidence, especially as a woman in business?
Well, I've been in business for a while and I've had my own challenges with confidence, but I've also seen so many other such capable women just not offering their gifts to the world in a way that benefits them and the people that they work with. And I just think it's just a shame. And so I have a background I have a master's in counseling psych, and I have a lot of understanding about how the subconscious works. And the subconscious is where a lot of our limits to confidence lives. So helping people get that lifted up and conscious and moving out has been my pleasure for so many years. So I just think that, what women do it's just amazing, and I don't think it's valued enough. And so I think it's up to us to value ourselves and value what we do.
Yeah, so it's critically important, and that's such an intersection with branding, as we're going to explore today. For those of you who've never seen an episode, we do 3 tips that you can actually put into action right after the episode. So I bring on experts like Adele who are going to share things you can use. And today Adele has brought along 3 tips. If you are struggling with confidence or you want to grow a little bit, if you're really honest with yourself in terms of promoting yourself, Adele's going to share those with us. So we're going to do the first 2, and then we're going to save that 3rd tip for the end, so you get all the value out of today's episode and know how to connect with Adele at the end. So with that being said, Adele, if for those of us who are coaches and consultants, and especially those of us who are women and struggle with these kinds of things, what is the first thing we should keep in mind if we want to increase our confidence?
Well, I truly believe that a great first step is getting help with your brand. And I know that that sounds like a lot, but I notice a lot of women don't really have the language they can make a pretty website, but it's not very compelling. So I think to stretch to the level that your budget allows and actually allow yourself to have that kind of support is the first step that I did. I worked with you, and I know you have different levels that people can work with you. And it just turned so many things around because my website looks great. I know how to talk about what I do. My bio is ready. And, if you get a speaking engagement invitation, you have to send them a picture and a bio. You just have to. And so not knowing what to say, it's kind of can jam you up. So like I always like to tell you, I just feel I'm just dressed and ready for the ball.
Ready. Yeah. You were always like, I'm ready for the ball. And
Yes.
I think that that's something I see so much. It was certainly something I experienced, but so many of my clients do, in particular women, come to me and they're really realizing that branding is the bottleneck. Specifically, how they tell their story is the bottleneck. And that's, I think, because as women, we struggle with value, we struggle with giving ourselves credit, we struggle with seeing our genius, right?
Yes.
And so that's where I will just say full disclosure, I just confirmed with Adele before this episode, she wanted to make this the first tip. I didn't put her up to it. And not everybody comes on and says, the first thing you should do is invest in branding. And I think the lesson there is like, invest in your bottleneck. And so if the thing holding you back, is affecting your behavior, like that's one of the things that would make it into the book today if I were still working on it, which is so much of your business growth or lack thereof is about your behavior.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you see that?
I would say that the number one, I was just looking at my own business history and what I feel like I've achieved. And I realized my number one mistake was not taking more action. Like, and you are so good at that. And you're such a beacon for that. And I think, again, we're afraid of making mistakes or, feeling rejected. But that really is the number one thing, is to take action. And it can be a really small action. I want to just circle back to about what I gained from working with you, excuse me, is really seeing myself through a lens of confidence, because I did not, you live inside your own experience. You don't know when somebody says, but Adele, you're a really good listener. I was like, I am. And you've told me that you've had people cry when you read them their brand story guide, right?
Right.
Because being seen like that, and then being able to say, this is how I am, this is how I am seen, it's so valuable. It's so
I think the key is understanding, like, if that's the thing holding you back. And that's when I get on free consultations with people, it's so hard to know what's the right next thing to do in your business. There's so many things you can invest in and ways you can ask for help. And I'll tell people, like, if it's not holding you back, not having the perfect message, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as perfect message. And I write them for a living. The best message is the one that gives you confidence, that feels like you're going to go out and use it, and that you're going to get more and more confidence the more you use it and the more you take action. So there's definitely this relationship between getting enough under your, whatever tool you need, whatever kind of language you need, but then you need to use it. Because I'm using this analogy all the time, which is like, what good is the best hammer in the world if you leave it in the shed? Right. So there's two steps to that. There's an investing in the branding, but then going out and using the branding. And that's what's going to bring, it's a little bit of believe. I've heard the phrase, fake it till you make it. And I much prefer believe it till you become it.
Yes.
Which is Jeff Goins, I believe.
Yeah. And I think when we take action, we do prove to ourselves, I'm moving forward. I may not be where I want to be yet, but I'm moving. I'm getting closer. Yeah.
And I read an article once that talked about the difference between being in action and being in motion. And I think that there are two real differences there. And I see people getting stuck on the being in motion is the being fixated on something, like good example is having that perfect elevator pitch. Oh, I've written 20
Mm.
of them, or I keep rewriting words on my website. That's being in motion, not taking action. Taking action, say, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to set it, and I'm going to not touch it for 90 days
Yep.
or 20 days or whatever it is. And I'm going to go use it. I'm going to go do something with it and move the ball forward versus that spinning ball of death we're used to seeing on our computers.
Well, I think that's a whole nother subject we could talk for hours on is, we all have to market. Most of us have to market our business. There might be a unicorn or two that can stay in the closet and people come to them, but I haven't met many. But we have to have feedback from the market. So if your elevator pitch doesn't land for 90 days, then okay, I need to change it up.
But if you're always changing it, you have no idea what's working and what's not.
Exactly.
That's the piece of it.
Yeah.
I love that. So our first thing that we really want to focus on is getting help if branding is our bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
What's the second thing we want to keep in mind about confidence, Adele?
I think it's to claim your expertise and don't be afraid to really own how great you are. And you've talked about this. A lot of other people talk about this. It's like, well, do I have enough certificates? Do I have enough letters after my name? I think I need to go get some more training. But really the training was in your life up until now, right? It's somebody who's a mother and has had success with raising children, she could be a great parenting coach. She could. I could not. I don't have children, right? Somebody who has a successful relationship could be a great relationship coach. Well, I did go to graduate school in psychology. I did not learn those skills at graduate school. So you think, oh, I have a master's or I have a PhD or whatever. You think that's going to give you the skills? No, life gives you the skills. So, and I think about people who faced really serious illnesses and come back. I mean, they know a lot about how to heal and about strength and courage. And to think that you have to have letters after your name to share that with people, I don't agree with.
So, and you had said to me as we were talking about this idea that it's really about letting your audience know about what you are great at. So worrying less about, if it is the perfect expertise, but owning what your expertise is.
Yeah, because your life will give you your life experience will give you the passion that you have for your business, the fuel you have for your business. And I think again, for women to say, yeah, I have this life experience and this is what I'm really good at. Can I help you? Do you need my help?
Yeah. And I think that those were some of the limiting beliefs that really held me back for a long time and were part of our work together when I hired you as a sales coach. At the time, it was back in 2016 when we did this. Really, I didn't even believe in coaching when I hired you, but I was that desperate. Right. And it totally transformed my outlook. But it was a lot of realizing that I wasn't owning my expertise. I wasn't claiming my story because it didn't, to me, look like what a person who does graphic design. Well, I didn't go to art school. Person who does logo design. I didn't go to school for that. Person who does, professional writing. I had that experience, but in different ways, right? I didn't go to branding school. I worked at Disney, but I did learn branding there. So it was a lot of, I didn't know what I was doing running a business. It was my first business, but I came from a whole line of entrepreneurs. And so it was a lot of permission around owning what I was great at, regardless of whether it had the perfect, tidy story behind it. And so that was just such an eye opener for me, because I think I was very much hiding that expertise because it didn't seem like it fit in what I thought the resume behind my position needed to have.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know when you go to college, you learn a lot, but you don't necessarily learn life skills.
Isn't that the joke of it? Yeah.
I mean, learn how to party, but maybe not how to earn a living.
Right? On that resume note too, I'll never forget, I went to my boss, John, when I worked at Disney, and he was a VP of our department. Really respect him, and was thinking about going to grad school. And I was like, should I get an MBA? And, one of the things he said to me, it always stuck with me, which was Bob Iger, who was the CEO at the time. He's like, Bob Iger doesn't have a graduate degree. And I just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That some of these people that we admire that are the highest levels of leadership, I mean, many of them are college dropouts, right? Like didn't maybe started college and left to do other things to start businesses. And so they don't have the perfect resumes either. And I think not letting that hold you back and just recognize their solidarity in it. Like, I think confidence sometimes eludes us when we feel like it's just us experiencing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So count me among the odd resumes doing what I do. But I love that. So far we've talked about getting help if branding is your bottleneck, claiming that expertise and letting your audience know you're great at what you do, even if you came to it from an unorthodox path. We're going to have one more tip about confidence, but I know you brought something along that you wanted to mention if folks are interested in getting in touch with you. So what is that you wanted to share with Branding with Friends folks?
I would, if you're interested in knowing how to manifest more abundance in your business and claim your expertise and feel more confident about promoting what you do, I would love to offer you a complimentary 30-minute consultation. And you can find that on my website, which Annie
will be linked here, but it's adelemichal.com.
Right.
Yes, it'll be in all the notes, but yes.
Yeah. So, and what we would talk about is where you are now, where you want to go, and where you see the bottleneck is. And there's no obligation, and you won't, I don't hard sell, but if I can help you, I would love to. And even that 30-minute conversation can be very clarifying. So would love to hear from you.
I am your biggest fan. So I will say that like my free consultation with you was absolutely life-changing in every way I can say it. I say that now and I'm like, really? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's true. And I'm like a pretty skeptical bird over here with coaches, especially coaches that are more about your mindset. But I continually learn, even almost 9 years into business, how I feel about things is affecting how I behave and therefore how my business runs or doesn't run. And so I can't just say enough for people like Adele and Adele herself, who are experts in this world where you struggle with this. So anytime somebody comes to me with a real mindset challenge, you are like the first person I think of. So if you're and this is, I think, one of those that's tricky, like mental health, what you do isn't mental health, but I think it's one of those things where it is difficult to raise your hand and say you're having a challenge with it. So maybe if today gives you some permission to feel like, oh, it's okay that I'm struggling with confidence, like even Annie went through that and still goes through that. And that's a really common, the best thing you can do in those cases is ask professionals to help you and to trust that you can be vulnerable with people who do this all the time.
Yeah. And it's not as if, we haven't heard it before, it's like, or we haven't said it before. And I think that's another thing I just want to say for all of us women who are in business is it's okay to ask for help. In fact,
oh my God,
you're going to go further faster when you do.
Yeah. And I heard that all the time. And I was like, no, I can do it all. Like I was Jane of all trades. Like I can do all of it. And that held me back for a number of years until I realized like, oh, my business can feel lighter. I can do more if I'm willing to trust experts to help me get better at what I do, willing to delegate to a virtual assistant, like those sorts of things. But I was very nervous for a very long time, and I had to take baby steps to it. And everybody does. Like I write a lot about that in the book. If you guys are curious, read more in Establish Yourself under Shape Your Business, which is all about operations and my sort of journey from using my VA for 2 hours up to like 20 hours plus a month, which has been also business and life changing for me too. So I'm glad you brought that. So we've talked about 2 great things today, and we're gonna get to that 3rd tip. So we've talked about this idea of, invest in branding. If it's your bottleneck, please ask for help. There's lots of different ways that people can help you clarify your branding, myself included. And I will say, if you want to have a conversation with me, I do offer free consultations at greateststorycreative.com. Just look at the red button and we can have a private chat. The second thing you said was claim and own your expertise. Don't be afraid to tell your audience what you are great at. What is that 3rd and final thing that you think is most move the needle about confidence?
It is to focus on the value that you can provide rather than the awkwardness you feel in promoting your services. So I had this experience my own self today. I'm promoting a workshop and I needed to make some phone calls to tell people on my list that it was happening and personally invite them. It's like, oh no, I'm going to be bothering them. Well, I made the calls and I didn't talk to everybody, of course, but the people I did talk to, we had the best conversations. It was so fun. And so that kind of like, again, just blew that out of the water of if you think about how you might be able to help somebody. And I like to say, you may be the answer to someone's prayer.
Mm.
And if you don't let them know about it, either through, email, social media, phone calls, videos, whatever, however you talk about what you do, you are withholding something of value from someone who could use it. And I don't know about you, Annie, but there have been moments in my life where I would send up a prayer and say, please help me do this. And somebody would show up and it would be the right somebody, and I would be able to move through that issue. So I think I think it's really important not to focus on yourself and how awkward you feel, but focus on what you can offer to others.
So focus on the value, not the awkwardness, because you may be the answer to someone's prayer.
Yep.
I don't think I could say that any better myself. I'm constantly coaching clients on that idea because I think is in particular my clients who are women struggle with the self-promotion thing. I used to as well. And I think you put it really eloquently that like seeing sales as service and seeing honestly less sales, but even just awareness. Like so many amazing women business owners I know almost never talk about what they do. They are best kept secrets because they keep the secret. And so that's a challenge that I think Adele and I can issue to you if you're watching this, whether you are a woman or not, and you struggle with confidence. Tell more people about what you do and what you are great at, and make it a dare. If you have to just kind of close your eyes and send the email, like do it, because it's contagious and it will help you get over the hump. But it is really truly that idea of remember that it's not about you. It's not about self-promoting. It's about making sure that someone who really needs you knows that your solution exists, like knows that you are there to add value to them. And that's something where you can change a life and your life can be changed too. And there's nothing better if you're in the transformational space, whether in business or in life, whatever it is. But I am so glad you came, Adele, to teach us to invest in branding if it's our bottleneck, claim our expertise, and to focus on our value and not the awkwardness of promoting ourselves. What a masterclass you could listen to on your lunch hour on confidence. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Annie. And thanks for all you do. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to know more about Adele, you can definitely check out all of her connection points that we're going to have here in the show notes, anywhere you are watching or listening to Branding with Friends. If you want to know more about our story together, it is the introduction to Establish Yourself, which is now available on Amazon.com or at howtoestablishyourself.com. My special guest to one of my favorites, the incredible Adele Michal. Please tune in next time when we're going to tackle yet another topic where branding and business meet. Until then, I'm Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. You can find all our past episodes, branding resources, and so much more on our website, greateststorycreative.com. Stay awesome.